Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday night loving kindness meditation. My name is Alex, and I'm coming to you from a little bit lower position. I usually sit up there, on the stage, but I thought, let me sit a little closer. Sometimes, I'm looking at the camera angle, and I guess they can zoom in if they wanted to, but now that I'm sitting here, down a little bit lower, and I was kind of facing the camera, just kind of a little more dead on. I feel a little more comfortable, and so I hope that's okay. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit before we get into our loving kindness meditation is a little bit about having loving kindness for yourself, or I guess in Buddhist terms, holding oneself dear. It's really important that we're able to do that and able to have loving kindness for ourselves. I was on Twitter just earlier today, and there's this person that I follow on Twitter who I have a lot of respect for, because it really fights for unionization of particular employees and making sure that they get health care and they get fair wages and they have a safe environment to do their craft in. And then I get this this tweet that he talks a lot about this kind of self-denigration and this self-hatred, and if I can be so bold as to use that very kind of like in-your-face kind of word, that really exists in him, and he was really bold and just kind of admitting that. And that's, I think, is the first step. That is the first step in being able to have loving kindness for yourself, is to admit to yourself that you've done a lot of things to yourself that have not been in your best interest. Right? A lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of these kind of negative emotions that we find ourselves getting addicted to, even more so now in isolation. That kind of feeds this kind of self-hatred a lot of times. And it's hard to uncondition ourselves from that, because we've been conditioned with this for the entirety of our lives. Especially if you're in this country, you've been conditioned with this for the entirety of your life, however many years that is. However many years that is. And now then we come to Buddhism, and Buddhism says, hey, you have to love yourself first and foremost. And the Buddha was a big proponent of this. Right? Because if he says, if you love yourself, then you would never want to harm another person. Because when you love yourself, you investigate, and you realize that you've been harming yourself for so long, and it feels so bad. And with some mindfulness as well, you reflect on all of the times that you've harmed yourself in your words, in your actions, in your thoughts. And then when you finally come to have even just a little bit of loving kindness for yourself, one that's free from guilt, one that's free from regret, one that's something that's just pure, you realize, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And I've been harming myself for so long, I want to feel more of this. And the more of this that you can feel, that makes you even more kinder and more compassionate for other human beings. And that's why, or at least one of the reasons why, having loving kindness for yourself is so important. I want to read this to you, and I'm going to read this again in the story I'm going to tell a little bit later. And this is from This is from the story. And so this is just a verse from the Buddha. He says, having traversed all quarters with the mind, one finds none anywhere dearer than oneself. For others too, each holds himself most dear. Hence, one who loves himself should not harm others. Because if you have that love for yourself, you know how good that feels. And so you would never want to harm anybody else if you have this loving kindness for yourself. And it's even harder now, like I said before, because this is a really uncertain time in our lives for everybody. I mean, yes, things are opening up a little bit more, but as they're opening up a little bit more, cases are spiking. Cases are spiking in so many states right now that they're shutting things down again. And so, that's, unfortunate to see, but it's, just kind of human nature, I guess, in some ways. So I hope you all are staying safe. I love all of you. And I just kind of wanted to share that a little bit before we started on this loving kindness meditation, because there's going to be a part where you're going to have loving kindness for yourself. And that's the most important thing that you can do. That's the most important part of this meditation. But the way that we do it, it comes a little bit later on in the meditation and not right off, to kind of get us warmed up for it. And if we have to spend some time warming up for it, that's okay. This isn't a race, right? So, I was just thinking about that today. So let me get my handy dandy. There we go. Okay, guys. I'm going to dispense with what is metta meditation. You all know what it is. But if there's anyone here who's there's first time to the Dharma Bum Temple online meditation, or first time to this particular kind of meditation, please say hello to Travis in the comment section, and he'll relay them to the rest of the group. So, or at least to me. And all right, so let's get the proper position for a loving kindness meditation. If you're seated in a chair like me, you just want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor with your legs a few inches apart. My back is not against the back of the chair. I'm just kind of upright, so I like to make my back super duper straight and then just relax so that my core is still somewhat engaged. But I'm not leaning against the back of the chair, ready to fall asleep. All right. Our hands can be anywhere that's comfortable, so I like to put my hands on my lap or in my legs, like this or like this, and sometimes I alternate them, and that's okay. Just put them wherever that's comfortable. Like I said, your back is nice and straight, your head is nice and straight, maybe tucking your chin under just a little, and then your eyes can be closed, they can be open, they can be half closed, looking 45 degrees down past your nose. And a couple of things before we start this meditation. And the first off is, we have these instructions on how to sit, right? Like keeping your back straight and putting your hands where they're comfortable and things like that. And that's to allow for more comfort, not to allow for more stiffness, right? So we want to have, we want to foster a warmer kind of intention, this idea of no struggle. We don't want to struggle too much. So if you feel that your legs are falling asleep and you want to just kind of give your legs a shake, you can't see me shaking my legs, I don't think. That's okay, I'm shaking my legs. Or if you want to do like this or something like that, that's okay if you feel like really, a lot of discomfort. So that's fine. Although we do try to sit as still as possible, we don't want to get masochistic about it, right? And to punish ourselves by saying, if I move, then I'm not a good meditator or something like that. We don't want to feed those flames. And we've been feeding them all our life. We don't want to continue that in meditation. All right. And the other thing is, when you sit like a Buddha. And you can imagine yourself as a Buddha, the Buddha, a Buddha, sitting underneath the Bodhi tree of enlightenment, or the Bodhi tree in your living room, or the Bodhi tree on the side of your bed, or the Bodhi tree on your kitchen table, wherever that is, it's fine. And you can just picture yourself just sitting there, just striving for enlightenment, for the end of your own suffering, for your benefit and the benefit of all beings. Right? So we can have these recollections while we're meditating, right? To kind of keep ourselves loose, to make sure that we sit as still as possible, to make sure that we don't struggle in meditation, not with our mind, not with our posture. Okay. Any questions before we start? I guess not. Nope. Travis says no. Okay. Just allow your eyes to close. Again, making sure that you have that posture that's nice and sustainable and comfortable for you. So you're not likely to move around too much. At first, just start to pay a gentle attention to your breath. Focusing your breath at the base of the nostrils, feeling the air go in and out as you breathe. Or even focusing on the belly, noticing its expansion and contraction as you breathe. So taking a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Nice and easy with that attention right here, at the base of the nostrils. Not focusing on all the other cares of the world, not worrying about anything else that you normally worry about. So we do this to connect with the breath and to connect with our heart in preparation for this loving kindness meditation. So just for the next few moments, just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. So to begin our meditation on loving kindness, we're going to start with a benefactor. And a benefactor is someone who has shown us great love and great kindness. Someone where you just think of this person and you smile and your heart gets warm and you feel like your heart gets bigger just from knowing this person because of what they meant to you. And it could be anybody. They could be living or not. They could be a relative or not. Let's try to be as flexible as possible. Usually the first person that pops into your head, other than a romantic partner, is fair game and you're good to go. You can think about all the ways they've helped you, have been kind to you, have been there for you. And you can even picture them in your mind's eye, and you can either repeat certain phrases over and over. Phrases like, may you be happy, and say their name. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. Or if you don't want to repeat phrases, you can just imagine a beam of loving kindness shooting from your heart to theirs. This beam can be warm, it can be cool, it can be any color. It could be pulsating and vibrating or not. And as you're picturing this, just picture this beam going into their heart. Or picture them smiling as you repeat these phrases for them. You can do this for one or more benefactors, that's fine. So just for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor, our loved one. Now shifting our focus a little from doing this practice for our benefactor to now having our benefactor doing this practice for us. And there's a couple of wonderful ways we can facilitate this. And now you can imagine your benefactor saying these phrases for you, the same phrases you said for them. You can imagine them beaming loving kindness, or shooting a beam of loving kindness from their heart into yours. A beam that can be any color, with any kind of heat that you want. Because you know this person who's meant so much to you, loves you so much, if they've meant that much to you. Whether you realize it or not, there are so many people in this world who would do anything for you, who love you so much. Whether you believe it or not, it's the truth. And our job in this meditation is to feel that as much as possible, to allow this in as much as possible. And one way we can help allow this in is to put our hands over our heart. Maybe making our heart warmer, noticing for any tension that says, I can't let you in. Not right now, it's too hard. So putting your hand over your heart and feeling its warmth can help with that. Breathing into your heart space can help with that. Releasing any discomfort. As much as you can, allowing this in. Allowing all of this love coming from someone who loves you so much. Accept their gift. Be open to their gift to you. Their love given freely. And we'll do this for the next few moments. And now the most important part of this meditation, the one we've worked our way up to, is the ability to hold ourselves dear, to love ourselves, and to have this loving kindness in our own hearts for us. And to do this practice of loving kindness for ourselves, it may be even just as important to keep your hand over your heart, listening for any resistance, any voice that says, no, not me, I don't deserve this. Connecting with your breath if you have any of those thoughts or feelings. Letting those thoughts go. Just saying these phrases to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. Maybe even taking a couple of deep breaths to start. Just settling in, hand over your heart. This is what the spiritual warrior does. The spiritual warrior loves themselves unconditionally. Which allows them to never harm themselves and never harm another human being. If you never want to harm another human being, love yourself. Honor yourself. So we'll just do this part of our practice for the next few moments. And smile while you do it. And finally, to end our meditation, we can now give all of this loving kindness that we've generated to all beings in all directions, to a specific group of people who you know could use some thoughts of loving kindness. Just ask yourself, who should I give this to? And whatever pops into your mind, just give it to them. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. So we'll just do this for the next few moments to end our meditation. And so just open your eyes when you're ready. And so let's just take the next 90 seconds out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs. I'm going to close the windows over here so you don't hear all that drilling. I guess Travis is there. And then we'll begin. Okay. Not quite 90 seconds, but that's all right. You know, and I'm going to repeat this from last week too, because I think it's really important that, because of this time of uncertainty, whenever you have these feelings of anxiousness or ill will, this anger that kind of wells up inside of you, the first thing that you should be doing is practicing loving kindness for yourself. Because that's the antidote. That's the antidote as prescribed by the Buddha to ill will, to this anger, whether it's directed at yourself or somebody else. Always remedy this. Always take this medication, right, of loving kindness for yourself. After a while, it should become instantaneous. Oh, I'm getting really angry. I'm getting really anxious. Loving kindness for yourself. Loving kindness for yourself. Let it be habitual. Even if you can only do it for 30 seconds or a minute, it's really helpful to get some like prayer beads, some mala beads, and just as a mantra, may I be happy, may I be happy, may I be happy. Or some other phrase that has the same intention that you feel comfortable with saying. This works. I can tell you from direct experience, this absolutely works. And I do this a lot. I don't instantly go to another person like the enemy or a neutral person or even the benefactor. I always go back to myself. And so you should do that too, I hope. So this is a good time for questions. I didn't say this before, but after we have this meditation, if you have any questions, any thoughts, even if just to say, I enjoyed this meditation or I had difficulty with this meditation, I'm always interested to know what your experience is. It actually helps me too because I can't see you. Part of me loves being in isolation because it just suits me. It suits my temperament. But I love seeing your face, and I can't see your face. So let me know how you are. Let me know anything about this meditation. Any questions you have before we start our story of Mallika, the flower girl queen. It's a short story, but I'm always interested to know. It helps me. That's okay. We'll get on. Oh, we have something.
Cynthia said, "Thank you, Alex. Your guidance is extremely helpful. Not easy to have loving kindness when there's not so much loving kindness all around. And you help to bring us back."
Cynthia, I swear I will get back to you. I got your email last night, but I have to think about it. And so I will get back to you. Also, yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that very much. And actually, I figured you'd be on here tonight, so I meant to actually tell you that earlier. But Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. It always warms my heart when someone appreciates what I'm trying to do. It's not the reason I do, but it's nice to have those feelings. So thank you. All right. So we're going to get into our story here, but I'm going to give you like a little bit of history, just a teeny tiny bit that really helps. And a lot of these Buddhist stories, they always involve a king or something like that, or there's a king that's mentioned. And India of the time was about 16 different kingdoms of various sizes. But there's two that you hear about mostly, right? And that's the kingdom of Magadha and the kingdom of Kosala. And now, the kingdom of Magadha was ruled by this king named King Bimbisara. And King Bimbisara was a good guy. He's the hero in a lot of Buddhist stories. He was a devotee of the Buddha. He was so much of a devotee of the Buddha that he gave up his kingdom. Gave it up to his stupid son. His stupid son. And his very cruel son, Ajatasattu. And so these names, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing them right. But I'm thinking that's it. And so King Bimbisara, his son was trying to take over because he wanted his father's power, and then he caught his son trying to take over the kingdom. And he goes, well, what do you want? And the son goes, I want your throne. And King Bimbisara said, here, take it. If you want it, take it. And he gave it to him. It's not quite as simple as that, but he gave it to him. And his son then imprisoned him in a dungeon and later killed him. And if you know anything about Buddhism, patricide is Lord. As we say in the South, Lord. It is not a good thing. All right, so that's a long time in like numerous hell realms. Long time. So that's the kingdom of Magadha. The kingdom of Kosala was ruled by King Pasenadi. So that's what we're going to talk about today. King Pasenadi, also a pretty good guy, eventually became a devotee of the Buddha, which we're going to talk a little bit about. But all of these kingdoms were warring and fighting and skirmishing and all these different types of things all the time, right? And so the King Bimbisara of Magadha was dead. His son took over, Ajatasattu, and he and King Pasenadi were in battle. And King Pasenadi lost this particular battle, so he's on his way back to his kingdom, right? And at the same time, there's this lovely girl, and her name was Mallika, and she was the daughter of the foreman in the guild of garland makers. So they made garlands, right? Flower necklaces and all types of necklaces and things like that. And so she was just this young girl. She was going off to the flower gardens for the day that were just outside of town. And she was just happy as could be, singing la 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 with these 3 helpings of fermented rice that she was taking with her to spend the day with her friends. And on her way to the flower gardens, she sees this incredible ascetic, so just beautiful in kind of countenance and stature, and walking so calmly. And there was just a look about him. And she immediately looked at this man and just instantly bowed in front of him. And she offered her 3 helpings of fermented rice. And the ascetic offered his bowl, put his bowl out so she can put them in his bowl, and she put them in his bowl, and she bowed, and she was so happy that she had met such an amazing sage that she just went off to have a good time with her friends in the flower garden. She didn't know who this man was. This man was the Buddha. And so after she went off, the Buddha smiled. And Ananda, his attendant who was with him, knew that the Buddha does not smile unless he has a really good reason to smile. And so Ananda asks him, "Sir, why are you smiling?" And the Buddha says that this girl doesn't even know that because she gave this so freely, the karma of this action will ripen this very day, and she will become the queen of Kosala. And Ananda goes, "What? No." And he's thinking like to himself, how can this possibly be? The Buddha doesn't lie. But Ananda was thinking, how can this be? Because of the caste system of the time. The king is not going to hire, or is not going to like ask some lower caste woman to be his bride this very day who he's never met. So, so they kind of wander off, and the king is coming back into town fresh off his defeat, and he just hears this girl singing in the flower garden, and he goes, "Who is this girl? What is this singing? Oh, it sounds so beautiful." So he goes to the flower garden, and there she is. And he gets off his horse, and he asks her, "Are you married?" And she goes, "No, I'm not married." And he asks her name, and she tells him, and he just starts talking to her, and he lays his head in her lap, and she's stroking his hair, and he's telling her all about his defeat in battle earlier this day. And then it's time for him to get up, and he asks her where her parents live. And can he take her to her parents? And so she tells him, and she gets on the back of his horse, and he takes her to her parents' house, and he makes her his queen that very same day. Very same day, he makes her his queen. And so now, Mallika is the queen of Kosala. Isn't that something? And one of her wonderful characteristics, because she had many, she was bright and beautiful, she was well-behaved, she was kind, she had all these wonderful qualities. And when I'm talking about well-behaved, I'm really talking about kind of in accordance with the Dharma, well-behaved. And the Buddha even said that a woman who was well-behaved and clever and kind and all these wonderful things is superior to a man, which is something to say back in those days. And one of the things that was wonderful about her is that she wasn't jealous at all. Amity was her chief goal, to always get along. So she got along with her husband. The husband even got another queen that brought another woman into the family, which at the time was not a big deal, and they did it all the time, and she wasn't jealous, not a bit. And she welcomed her into the home, into the family, no hard feelings whatsoever. And even when this other queen had a son, the crown prince, and she only had a daughter, she wasn't jealous. And even the king was complaining about his Mallika not having a daughter and not a son, and the Buddha says, what I just told you, these women who have all these wonderful qualities are superior to a man. And so the Buddha counseled him. Said, no, don't have these feelings. This child has value. And she grew up just like her mother. She had through her kindness, Mallika had this ebony hall built for the Sangha so that they could have their meetings. And again, she was just a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother, a wonderful queen. She was giving to the monks. She was giving to the other people in her kingdom as well. But the king at the time was not really a convert. He didn't know the Buddha too well. He wasn't a devotee of the Buddha at the time. So there was this one day where the king had this horrible dream, this horrible series of dreams. And he goes to the local Brahmins at the time, the local, I guess you would call them, local priests. And he tells them of all these, the dreams that he has. And the priests were going, let's take this sucker for some money, right? And so they go, what you need to do is you need to have this sacrifice. You need to sacrifice all of these animals. You even need to sacrifice some humans because this is a bad omen. And you need to give us this much money. And only then will your dreams these bad dreams go away because you've angered the gods in some way. And Mallika hears this and knows that they're going to sacrifice animals and even humans. And she goes running off to the Buddha and please talk to him about this. And so, actually, no, she says to the king, go to the Buddha, sorry. And so the king goes to the Buddha and says, I'm having all these dreams. What does this mean? And the Buddha goes, nothing. Nothing. Doesn't mean anything. It really means that, or at least nothing that's bad is going to happen. These dreams are just representative of the kind of moral laxity of the kings in the kingdom of India in the coming time. That they're going to get more lax and more lax in their morality. Right? And you don't have to have all these animal sacrifices or human sacrifices or anything like that. And nothing's going to happen to you, and you're fine. And so he canceled the sacrifice and spared many, many lives. And he was a convert. He was a convert from then on in. The queen even wanted to have the Buddha or one of her monks come to teach at the palace. And they asked, who's going to come teach? And the king says, and the Buddha says, well, Ananda can come teach. Again, Ananda is the Buddha's attendant. And the Buddha that's another story. He had a lot of wonderful qualities, and Ananda was universally loved, even more than the Buddha, if that's even possible, but it was true. Ananda had 0 enemies, none. So Ananda went to teach at the temple, and he taught both of the queens, and Mallika learned easily, and the other queen learned with great difficulty. She had a lot of trouble. And the reason I like these stories a lot because they're very, very human. And there was no doubt that the king loved her. He absolutely loved her because they had a couple of fights. Like the first time, it was always over the same thing, right? The first time, the Buddha, Mallika did something, the king treated her like she didn't even exist because he was so angry. And the Buddha came to pay a visit, and the Buddha goes, where's Mallika? And she's not here. And the Buddha knew that something was up, and so he asked him, well, what's the matter? And he says, we're kind of having a fight right now. This fame is going to her head. her fame of being the queen is going to her head. And the Buddha goes, you're the one who gave her this title. You're the one who plucked her from like nothingness into being a queen. This is your doing. And so he talks to them about amity and having, getting along, and then they made up as if nothing happened. And it happened again, and the Buddha had to intervene again. And I like that they had these fights because that's what couples do. They have fights and they have disagreements. But he loved her dearly. There was this one time when the queen was and the king were talking, and they looked down, like they were in the palace. They looked down at this stream, and they had all these Buddhist monks splashing about, bathing themselves and splashing about and kind of making a little bit of a ruckus, which they thought was very, very unusual, that they shouldn't be doing that. Monks of the Buddha don't do these types of things. That's not proper. But it wasn't really proper for them to go down there and say something to them. So they hatched a little plan, you see. What they did was they went down there with a gift to give to the Buddha. And they said, could you please give this to the Buddha in appreciation for all that he's done for us? Knowing what the Buddha would do. And the Buddha did just that. The monks came to the Buddha and they gave it to the Buddha. And the Buddha asked, what was the occasion? They knew he would ask what was the occasion. And so the Buddha asked him, what was the occasion? And so they told him, we were taking a bath in the stream and we were splashing about. And that's when the Buddha made a rule that you don't do that. So they kind of, the monks just kind of saved face, right? They didn't embarrass the monks. They let the Buddha handle it in a very, very skillful way. Right? And, they had a happy life. They had a really happy life. And she was well loved, and Mallika's daughter actually became the queen of Magadha, the neighboring kingdom, after a while. Because of her qualities, her good qualities. And, that was their life. And, something happened. I don't know what happened. But years later, Mallika passed away. And the king was distraught. And because of some, earlier karma, Mallika had to spend 7 days in an undesirable location. And, they say it's a hell realm, but only for 7 days. Because her karma was such that it was only 7 days, and afterwards she'll be fine. And so for immediately after, the king was asking, what is her destination? What is her destination? Where did she go? Did she have a happy destination? Please tell me. And the Buddha never answered that question. He just gave these long talks on the Dharma to the king for 6 days. And on the 7th day, when the king asked, the Buddha goes, her destination is the Tushita heaven, which is one of the highest heaven, I think it is, one of the highest. And that's where she spent her time. And that was her destination. So again, that's a short story. I'm happy to tell. It's just very sweet. It's just a very sweet story, and I like it a lot. It's a joy for me to relate these stories to you, and it's a joy for me to tell them. This is only like the second time I've ever told this one, so again, it's short, but it's sweet, and I like it, and it's only like 8 after, or like 6 after, something like that. So again, I'm going to open it up for any questions that you might have about the story, about any questions that might have popped into your head about the meditation, about Buddhism, about anything else that you might have, and I'll just wait a little bit for you to write them down and let me know. And if not, then we'll just end it. That's okay. That's all right. We can end here. Earlier I said that when I tell this story, there's a part that is very misogynistic that I leave out of the story. And if someone would ask me about it, I would let them know what it is. But no one asked me about it, so you're just gonna have to wait till next time I tell the story, and who knows when that'll be. Guys, thank you so much for coming. It was wonderful to have you here, and it's wonderful to share in this beautiful practice. Let's join our palms together and our hearts, please. And may the benefits of this meditation, this discussion, this story be given to all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are, that you are. Thank you for coming. See you next time. Bye.